Alrighty, hello and welcome. I'm Katherine Briggs. If you could give us a little something about yourself.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Jocelyn. I'm so excited to be here. Let's see. A little thing about myself. We met at an author fair. I think that's just
Yeah.
super cool. So we're both fairly local and kind of neighborish in a way, which is awesome. And one fun thing about me, I really, really like chai tea lattes. We will be really good
Ah,
friends if anybody brings me a chai tea latte.
noted for next time we see each other. Alrighty, so how many books have you written?
Total, I've probably written about six because I think The Immortal Abyss is my sixth or seventh. This is bad. I can't remember. In print, I only have one in print right now.
So those other five, are you looking to publish them as well? Or are they
If
kind of like
Yeah, they're kind of like,
they're
I
the
would need
wings?
to revamp them hard, I think, and they're very yeah, those were more like let's learn how to write books, but I love them. I could see the storylines being recycled into future books. That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book you have published right now.
Absolutely. In fact, I have it with me here just in case. It's called The Eternity Gate. And in the Eternity Gate, kings and monsters battle over legendary treasure locked behind an ancient doorway, and Seo, handmaiden to the princess, has the key. So it's an adventure, questy, young adult fantasy book.
Nice. And you said there was a second one coming out relatively soon?
Yes, it comes out in September 17th. I'm super excited. The cover is super blue and
Gorgeous.
really pretty. Oh man, thank you. I'll pass that on to my cover designer. She just blew it out of the water. It's just so good. And I think I'm actually really excited. Physical arcs for those are coming anytime now, I think, which I'm so excited just to kind of see like the preliminary version.
Mm. Sorry. Yeah, every time I see you post something about that second book, that cover. They say don't judge a book based on the cover, but it's sort of hard to do that. So when you have a beautiful cover like that, I mean, people are gonna buy it. It's so pretty.
She did. Her name is Emily Haney. She's amazing. I like, yeah, I about fell over when I saw it. So I'm glad you feel the same way. It's not just me.
It's it's really pretty. And I'm super happy for you.
Oh,
I'm
thank
actually
you.
super excited for you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so we talked about yourself. Okay, so what do your readers not know about you that they probably should?
Okay. I may have shared this in an Instagram live, but it was part of like a two truths and a lie. So
Hmm.
I don't even know if they knew, but in the Eternity Gate, the main character speaks or knows a lot of different languages, and she knows some ancient languages, and she interprets some old texts. And I am not, what's the fancy word? I always forget, a lingua plot. Oh, I always forget the fancy word for somebody who speaks like tons of languages. I so admire that. I'm not that, but I do know a little bit, like a fair amount ish of Latin. And I
Ooh,
can read some things in Latin and kind of get the gist of what's going on. And so as I was writing the book, it was super fun, kind of pretending that I was Seo interpreting, ancient texts. I love language, so that's fun for me.
well, especially like a language like Latin. That's
It's
awesome.
everywhere, like literally everywhere.
It's like the building blocks of language. I swear.
No kidding.
So, with all your writing, with all these events and all that stuff, who is your biggest support?
Ooh. My biggest support is probably my sister, Jessica. She's my main alpha reader. She sees things first. And I know people say like family. Oh, I don't know. Family, they're not good at that. And sometimes maybe they're too nice, but she's a professional ballet dancer. So she understands
Ooh.
art and
Mm.
she's really, really, really good. And if there's something not working in the story, she will tell me and she'll help me fix it. And she's super encouraging as well.
That's awesome. Like a balance between like, hey, this doesn't work, but let me help you.
Exactly, because she gets what I'm trying to do and she likes those types of stories. And that's key. So she can read something that's just garbage and say, okay, I see the thread of goodness here. Let's help it come out.
Yeah. I think some people have they have someone who just criticizes but doesn't know how to help. So that's awesome. So do you listen to music while you write?
That's been a bit of an evolution. I used to all the time, even like rap music. That worked for me. And I don't know what's happened in the last 5 years, but I am finding I can only do film scores or instrumentals. Otherwise, I get distracted. And at this point, sometimes I think I write better in silence, which is kind of sad. What about you?
I find that if I'm listening to music with words, I write the lyrics down instead of the story.
Okay.
So yeah, I also listen to film scores, or I listen to like violin covers of popular songs or piano.
Oh, those are so good. Like
Yeah,
Lindsay Sterling type stuff. I love that.
oh, there's this album that someone made that it changed classical music into like epic pieces. So behind
Ooh.
the classical piano, there's also this like big beat happening behind it where it's a lot of buildup. It's super cool.
Ooh, I want that. Please send it to me. That
I
sounds like
will
so
send
much
it to
fun.
you. It's yeah, it's super pretty. And it gets you pumped up, so it works.
Hey, we need that.
Yes. Um yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I can do complete silence with the writing. I think I get more distracted over that because I feel like maybe it's just my house. I hear my dogs, I hear the baby, I hear everybody. So I'm like,
No, that makes sense. We live in a really quiet neighborhood and our dog's pretty quiet. So if it was different, that would probably be hard for me too.
So how do you handle negative reviews?
I don't read them. Somebody told me somebody said reviews are interesting because it's not really about you. It's not really about your book. It's more about what that person is looking for. Aside from the trolls who are just out to bring people down, like that's a whole separate thing. And then somebody else told me just don't read them, any of them, because the bad reviews make you feel bad, and the good reviews tend to put too much pressure on you. So I just kind of don't look at them. If somebody emails me, I definitely read it and respond. And I appreciate all the really awesome reviews and respect the bad reviews and kind of raise an eyebrow at the trollish reviews. So I just kind of try to ignore them.
So, well, that kind of answered the question or messed with it, but there is a thing going around. Do you think reviews are only for readers then and not really for the author?
Ooh, okay. I think so. And I know people would disagree with me, but what happens with reviews is it's hard to tell who, for people who, so you have like your core readership, right? Who they really get your stuff. And then there are people on the fringe. And the core people tend to be really positive, which is awesome. And so that's kind of nice, or really awesome, really positive. And so if you hear, oh, I like the characters 100 times, you're like, oh, okay, I need to make sure I keep pouring into that. I feel like it's the people more on the fringe that tend to be more critical sometimes. And you don't really want to write for them. Like you want to be true to yourself and true to what made you a good fit for the core team. I keep hearing of authors who study their reviews to try to improve their craft. And it ends up taking them sideways because they end up doing something very different. So I feel like a core group of readers giving feedback is better than like reviews as a whole.
Well, yeah, because it's a whole, you can't please everybody. So why not go with the people who are with you instead of trying to fit into what other people are trying to think?
But feel free to debate me. Some people feel totally differently about that.
Oh, I don't. I think some reviews don't reflect greatly on the book. So just like with movie reviews, I don't listen to them because I've enjoyed some very badly reviewed movies.
Exactly. Well, and people see different things in your book. I've had people pull things out of the Eternity Gate that I was like, whoa, like that was never in my mind. I never would have envisioned that. And whether they're happy or unhappy about it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's It's interesting that you found that in there.
That's great. It's like that whole argument with like with English teachers, they're trying to say, well, why did he make the curtains blue, and trying to bring something out of it. But then it's like, was the author actually trying to go for that, or was he just saying they were blue?
Exactly.
And that's my whole problem with analyzing poetry. Like, I love reading it, but when it's time to teach it in school and try to analyze them, like, there are just so many different meanings you can draw from this. It makes it difficult to actually sit down and be like, kids, let's mess with it.
It's true, because it is subjective. And even if you know what it's about, our experiences, we kind of interpret it a little bit differently too. And culturally, things change. And yeah, I hear you. I'm glad you're a teacher. That's so cool.
I feel like that makes our conversations a little different since we're both like in that field. So it's like, oh,
Right.
we can understand each other.
Right. Because it matters. We know how important words are. We know how important stories are and how they shape hearts and they shape culture. So yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's like the hardest thing to try to talk to kids about, like try to get them to understand the importance of certain stories of these things. It's a work in progress. Anyways, so especially with the upcoming book coming out, how do you celebrate your successes as an author?
Oh man, Jocelyn, I stink at that. I really I keep thinking when something like this good thing happens, I'm going to go get a crumble cookie and treat myself. And I always forget. So I really want to start having something to look forward to, and maybe even like a couple, like some time off. Like I'm very project driven. So I just like to jump into the next thing. But I'm like, even something simple, like I'm going to go for a walk. I love walks. I live outside. Go for a walk every morning. Something even just small like that, I do need to celebrate better.
I feel like that every person that I ask that of, they're like, no, we don't really. I'm like, but come on, like you have things happening. I say that, but I'm like the exact same way.
I figured. It's healthier. We know it is to take a break and celebrate, but man.
But also I feel like with writing, like with you, the project, it's like, okay, next step, let's keep going. What's the next step?
Right.
Especially when you're writing like a series, oh, your first book is done, but hey, there's still a story to tell.
Exactly.
So, and it's going to be a duology. Do you have any stories planned for after yet, or is that going to be a whole new thing when you're done?
The duology, I feel like there could be more stories written from this world. I do love this world a lot, but I don't, like when a story really starts to kind of walk on its own, which sounds kind of zombie-ish and weird, but none of those ideas have really done that yet. So they're just sitting. So probably for this world, this duology, it closes it up. So at this point, my brain has turned to a whole different world and a whole different, actually a slightly different genre too, but still within the speculative realm.
Nice.
That's very secret. You're like, I think the third person have mentioned that too. And I'm excited about it though. Cause like I said, this idea is walking. So I'm like, ooh.
That is the hardest part for me. So the story I'm writing, there's going to be more. It's like already, it's at 3 books right now. I know it's going to be more, but it's like, I've been writing this story since I was in high school.
Oh, cool.
So when it ends, I don't know if I'm going to know what to do with myself. It's just I've been working on this for years.
But you have like a trilogy is no small feat, and then you have more ideas. Like it's a big world. So I feel like you have so much creativity. Like I'm sure it'll come.
I have things to mess with, but I don't know if I can just detach myself from those characters all the way. That's my problem. Like, will I be able to write actually separate characters from these 6 that I've been messing with for so long?
That's a good sign, I think, though.
It's going to be fun.
We'll see. The adventure continues.
The adventure continues. So if you could spend a day with any author, living, dead, who would it be?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, this is such a standard answer for fantasy writers, but it would be really neat to talk to Tolkien and ask him, like, how did you organize all of your research? Because it's crazy. I mean, he made up his own languages. I can't even imagine. Like, how did he do that? I want to know.
No, I that's a really good answer. My goodness, yeah, that's Tolkien would be a great one.
You'll come with me? We'll both go.
We'll both go. I don't know. I was thinking of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because she's like the mother of science fiction.
Didn't
Like,
she write
would
that?
be-
She like wrote that in a castle. It was like a game, right? It started off as a game with her husband and her brother or something like that.
I don't know the history too much behind it. I know it had something to do with her brother and her husband because they were both writers too. And she was young when she wrote it.
Mm. Yeah, that's a crazy book. That has like one of the best like jump scenes in written literature I've ever read. I was just like, ah.
I always get so excited because I used to teach seniors and it would be British literature. So we'd be reading that and I'm just in there enjoying, like excited. And they're just like, Miss, like, come on, just get through the beginning and then it'll just keep going. It'll be
Yes,
great.
get through that random huge portion of description about the mountains. It's really beautiful though. We're just not used to that anymore. And don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah, like I think like with Tolkien, what messed me up because attention spans are going down so quickly. So what messed me up with like the Lord of the Rings is there was just pages describing a forest, and I was sitting there reading it in high school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like let's go to the action that I remember from the movies.
I taught the Fellowship of the Ring this last year for the first time, and I forgot that there was that huge chunk. And again, beautiful writing. It's amazing. Like, and some interesting characters that never show up again. So it's like intuitively, like this is kind of like a diversion, and the students really feel that. So yes, I hear you, and you gotta cheer them on. You say, let's find the good in this, and it's gonna be great.
With his books, it was kind of like whiplash because I read The Hobbit, which is this smaller, nice book, and then you jump into the Lord of the Rings, and it just took more of a dark feeling to it. I'm like, whoa.
They're totally different, and yet the same world. So interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he wrote The Hobbit as a fairy tale for his kids, and then the Lord of the Rings was something else.
Then it got serious.
And you feel it.
Oh yeah.
So this is my problem, or used to be my problem. What helps you focus on your writing? Like what gets you in the mood?
Oh man. I don't know. I think I'm able to write consistently enough that it's kind of habitual. Like it's time to go and work on it. And I think I've written for a really long time. So when I take a big break, it's like I feel it. It's like, oh man, it's been a long time since I've written anything. So I think naturally that's in me to keep me going. I think good music. And I often, actually, now I think about it, I normally make some tea to drink with it, and it kind of gets me in the zone. And I think having a plan for a book I enjoy, and if I'm actively like writing, editing is different than brainstorming than writing. But for drafting, I want to try stopping each day when I know what's going to happen next, so that I'm not like coming into a problem the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, the editing part of books is a whole different monster.
A good monster. We need it.
Oh yeah, we need it 100%. It's just writing the story just so much more fun.
It is. Brainstorming. I love planning so much. I don't know why. I love being like, and then we can do this. Yay.
Yeah, I think that's my problem. I think I get stuck in the planning, and then it's difficult to go into the actual writing bit.
Yeah, I do that too.
It's like, this would be so much fun, but I don't know how to make it happen. So you publish one book, you're getting ready for the next one. So what do you do to get ready to publish? Is there anything besides just, oh, it's edited, it's good? Is there anything else you do, or?
Yes. As far as like marketing goes, I do try to be active on Instagram. I have an email newsletter. I try to reach out to people like you to do interviews or podcast interviews. I would love to do panels and speaking. I like to cross promote with other authors. I love reading other authors' books that are similar to my genre. And if I feel like the vibe is similar, promoting that. So kind of like more of a community, just a natural community aspect too. Marketing takes up a lot of time for me. I was surprised by that. That was probably the biggest surprise of publishing.
Yeah, marketing. I with everyone I've spoken to, but granted, I've only interviewed. Again, you're my fourth one.
Yay!
They said marketing is like the most annoying part of it, like social media, all of that stuff. But there's so many resources just online. Like I use
Absolutely.
Canva like crazy.
What's that? Sorry.
Canva.
Oh, me too.
I love Canva.
Well, and we met at an author fair. Like that's a lot of authors. They don't. I mean, not everybody needs to, but a lot of people they don't go that far with their marketing. They don't. But like we did, and that's how we met. I mean, even that's pretty time consuming. Super fun, but yeah, it's a thing.
Like as fun as it was, I was very happy to leave.
It was long. It was good, but woo.
It was a long day. I guess I didn't realize, like it says how long it was going to be, but like halfway into it, I'm like, I did not realize how long. It didn't click in my brain how long it was actually going to be.
Well, and you had your sweet baby with you, who was amazing. Yeah. But you had a lot but it went really well. People loved your booth. My gosh, you were right there with all of like the spooky speculative stuff, and people were just right for your stuff.
You say that, but your table was crazy.
I like that we were next to each other because our books have similar threads, but they're totally different. So anybody who wasn't really interested in my book, I was like, oh, go check out Jocelyn's. I think that's more where you're headed.
Thank you. So do you participate in any social media like writing challenges?
I haven't yet, but that'd be fun. Have you?
No. I tend to catch on to things too late. I'm like, oh, that would have been fun.
Yes.
I follow this person on TikTok, and all they do is post these like creepy prompts. Oh. Like, oh, that would be so nice. That's what I feel like I need to do just to amp up my writing, is just to do just more prompt-based practice.
Yeah, that works really well for a lot of people.
Just like to get me writing. Especially like that focus. Like if you don't know what to focus on, just do a prompt so you can get some of the creative juices flowing. And then hopefully get into it.
Exactly.
Okay. So I don't know if you're on Facebook author groups, but there's been a big argument over like what's like a writer versus an author. Is it simply when they publish their book, or is it something more than that?
I love that question. I've never been asked that. I've heard a lot of people talking about it, so I'll kind of share what I'm learning because I've wondered the same thing. I am kind of on Facebook. I don't have an author profile, and I kind of wish I did, but I shied away from it because I kept hearing about the connection between Facebook and Amazon and that could be a hindrance. But I think that was so like 7 years ago. I probably should, because people keep trying to friend me, and I only friend people I've met in real life. So it's like, so I keep having to message people, be like, sorry, I know this is super rude. But as far as groups are, I am a part of a couple groups, more as a reader, and writer versus author. There's kind of, at least with people I know, there's this vibe that, but again, it depends on the writing circle you're in. That author feels kind of hoity-toity, like to call yourself an author. But that's also, I feel like people who aren't in the writing realm, that's what they expect us to call ourselves. So I know a lot of people who will never call themselves an author. they call themselves a writer. So I don't really know. To me, I don't really have feelings about it. I don't think it really means anything. If are people reading your work, then to me it's like it's basically being published.
Wait, as long as it's out there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because there's so many like free sites where people have authored. Some of them are really good books that should have been published.
Mm-hmm.
Like which now I don't know if you've heard of like there's this website where it used to be super free and it was a bunch of people just posting their stories online. It's called Wattpad.
Oh yeah. Okay, I was
But
thinking Medium, but yeah.
now people are picking up those books and actually publishing them. And you can find those books in Walmart and in Target and all these places, which I find is super cool.
Oh, that is cool. Okay. Wow. Nice.
Like
I
great
have
for
heard of that.
y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So do you get writer's block?
I do, but writer's block to me just means I don't know something. I usually have to, like 99% of the time, go backwards and figure something out, or I forced a character to do something out of their character, and then that typically fixes the writer's block.
Nice. See, my problem is when I can sit down to write, nothing comes, but then when I can't write, that's when I get all the ideas.
Mm-hmm. I do that too. Maybe that's why you're a sprinter. It's like you just know I have to do it in these, like, what is it called? Writing within the cracks of time. That sounds weird, but yeah.
So I'd have like these piles of like receipts with stuff written on them, like the edges of like a notebook from school. Yeah, that was. Which you answered my second question. Combated, just go backwards. That's actually really smart though. Go back.
It works for me.
Yeah.
But then some people say just drop a dead body from the ceiling. So, there are different theories on what to do. It's like, okay.
Yeah, some people say kill someone and then your story's going to go. I'm like,
it's like, is it natural? Does it serve? Yeah. It's like, okay.
That's a bit of a jump.
Uh-huh.
I'm very hesitant to kill off people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just because I'm super attached to the characters I create or if it's just because I don't like killing people. Anyway,
your books fall under like young adult, right? Technically.
Yes.
Okay, so that's appropriate for that too, I think. Not that people can't die in young adult, but like it is a little bit different how you handle that, I think.
See, young adult is weird because it's like a really wide spectrum. At least the way I know it as. Because some books that fall into the young adult are way older feeling than mine. Like they're doing a lot more mature stuff than like my characters would. I'm like, so I don't know if mine is truly young adult. Like they are those ages. But I feel like it fits between. It's like a middle ground. Like it's not super mature, but it's not. If that makes any sense.
I totally agree. Just from reading and talking with people, YA young adult has changed a lot. And I almost feel like what young adult used to stand for, like that type of literature, is now like middle grade. I could be wrong, but I hear so many more adults even reading middle grade because they want something shorter and less intense. And as young adult gets more intense, and it's just interesting. It changes.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's getting. Oh, there's so much conversations to have about what's happening in young adults because then they also added new adults.
Yeah,
so they can put those more mature stories in that section instead of the purely young adult. So when I was younger, we did not have that new adult. Everything was just in young adult. So you'd be picking up books in the section that were way beyond my maturity level.
Right.
Like, yeah, this was not what I needed at this time.
Right. That's why I wish, I know. That's why the changes are hard because it's like, is this the right read for this person right now or no? So I get a lot of questions with my books, like, what do you mean by young adult? And then I tell them.
Well, yeah, because you don't know exactly what the definition is. Now it's a little different because they added new adult, but
true.
Like with me, especially when I was in those ages, like if it was still like that and someone asked if my daughter could read that when she was like 14, I'd be like, yeah, we're gonna wait.
Good for you, because it's just not worth it. Like, I don't know. I remember reading things like earlier than I should have, and it was just I didn't know how to process it well, and it's hard to talk about it
Mhm.
with other people. So, like, I don't want to hide from stuff, but you don't want to dive into just nasty stuff either. But like, definitely at the right maturity
Mhm.
level. So good for you. That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah. Well, yeah. If she seems more mature at those ages, that's a different story. But at the same
Right.
time, it's
Right.
like I don't want her to jump into something she's not ready for.
Exactly. Hmm.
And I'm just super excited for when she's older, me to have those types of conversations.
Yes. And she can read your books. That's so fun.
I hate it when people read my books that I know, or that like one of my students bought my book and they started reading it aloud to the class.
Oh, wow. They
No,
must
sir.
really like you.
Close the book. You're not going to do that.
Oh, they must really admire you because, like, that's pretty cool, actually.
I don't know if it's yeah, they're like I love my students. They're monsters, but they're awesome.
Oh, yeah. They're what? How old are they again? Do we teach? We
Seventh
both
and
teach.
eighth, seventh and eighth grade.
Okay, yeah. I'm like right before you. Yeah, they're at that fun age too. It is fun.
Yeah, I had a kid show me. He's like, "You wrote a book," and then he showed me the Amazon. He's like, "Bought." I'm like,
That's awesome.
"Cool." Like he's not a reader, so I don't think he's ever gonna read it. But he bought it.
Yeah,
Like,
it look nice on
okay.
a shelf.
That's when my brother would steal all my books just to put on his bookshelf, just to fill it.
See, I
And
think
then I go
that's
in like, "Why'd you steal my books? You don't even read them."
it's a sign of admiration. Don't tell them that, but it is. It totally is. It's like copying. It's the highest. What is it? Compliment or whatever.
Oh yeah, he would not like that, but I
No.
found it so funny. I mean, I've already read the book. I'm like, but you didn't have to steal them. You could have asked. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's so funny.
Anyway, the fun thing of having 5 younger siblings is nothing is your own.
Oh, yeah, I have 2 younger siblings, and we're adults now, like, in our 20s and 30s, and man, we still take each other's books. It just doesn't it? But they're girls, and so we read I don't know, we have similar interests, so we read kinda the same stuff.
Oh yeah, before I moved, I definitely stole some of my brother's books on accident,
Yeah, of course.
but they're now in my house. I'm like, I am not going to read this book, but it's here.
Mhm.
To be honest, to be fair though, I don't think he ever read it, so it's fine.
Ah, there we go. Won't even notice.
So tell me about your writing process. So when you get like a new idea, how do you go into the writing part? How do you go through that process?
Mhm. And I feel like it's changing. I don't like everybody says find your writing process. It's like, okay, but then I think we grow and it changes. So
Hmm.
for this one, it usually I used to have more book ideas come from dreams actually, and that's not as much of it. Like I still dream, but like doesn't happen quite as much. Now it's more like I'm in real life doing something and I will just something will happen that will trigger a what if question in my mind and then I will have like some kind of mental picture of characters doing whatever. And if it intrigues me enough, I write or honestly, if whenever that happens, I just write it down in notebooks and then I try to just kind of I'll have a lot of random ideas for different books that they don't really seem very congruent. And then eventually I'll have like a section that kind of works together. And I'm like, okay, this feels like this belongs to this book, and these ideas belong to something else. And what I did this time, so I guess at that point I have like a bunch of different scenes. I can't, and maybe I could start to kind of pitch the idea to you. But somebody recommended, and I'm just like, I get nothing for recommending this. I'm just going to recommend it because it's great. Somebody said, get onto Jessica Brody's website. She wrote Save the Cat writes a novel, and she has a new one that just came out for YA. I haven't finished reading it yet, but it's pretty good. She has like a community for classes, and for like $15 for a month, you can take her fast drafting class. And that's where I need to work a little bit harder because I like to draft forever and edit forever. It's like we can't write the same book forever. But she has in the beginning of that class some really, really good techniques for brainstorming. And I am now using that. Like once I kind of have the initial ideas, like kind of a pool, and I'm like of ideas and scenes that are cohesive and, not in the right order, but they go together. Then I go through that process that I took from that class, and I love it. It's simple, and I haven't written a book doing that yet, but I am excited to see how it pans out writing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing is I don't have an actual writing process. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see how it goes by the end of it.
No, that's good too. I mean, I have a friend, she's a fantastic author, and she edits and writes as she goes. And it takes her a very long time. And she doesn't write very quickly because she's just, it's like this perfect draft. I mean, I think she's a genius. I could not do this. My edits are way too heavy. But like, it's this perfect draft as she goes. And then she has a completed book. I do not recommend that to anyone. I think she might be like one of the few people who can do that. But hey, to each their own.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you go through and you'll get all these people's recommendations, like what they do, what works for these famous authors.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're going to have to find out what works for you.
And those famous authors, man, it's not their first book. Like, they know themselves and they know their schedule. So yeah, it definitely, like, I don't think there's like the way.
Well, yeah, the amount of time that they have to write, because I was reading some of these people, older famous authors, their writing schedule is like, yeah, I sit and I write for like 5 to 6 hours. I'm like, I do not have the time to sit there and write for 5 to 6 hours. No. Nor do I have the patience to do that to myself.
No. I don't even think I would like that. I think I need a little bit more of a time restraint, because I think I would just get all bougie with it and Parkinson's law, and I would just, I don't know. I think I need a little bit of time pressure.
I think I like, because there's this one, I read all this stuff and I never remember whose recommendations they are. But they're like, yeah, always set a timer for yourself when you're writing, so you know to put yourself like the time restraint, like, oh, you have to get this done in this time. And that just reminds me of college, because I'm like a procrastinator to the extreme. Like, I would wait until the end to do something. It's not smart, but it's how I got stuff done. And that's what I need to do with my writing. I'm like, okay, you have to get it done by this time. Otherwise, something's going to happen. I don't know what that is, though.
Good for you, though. So you have a system.
Yeah, well, it's a system I'm still working to create.
There we go. Aren't we all, though?
Because, like, I have not written anything this whole summer break yet. I've just been with the baby, to be honest.
I haven't either. I mean, we had that event where we met, and then school ended, and sometimes we need a break, and the baby is totally important. So good for you.
Yeah. And I find it hard to want to sit here at a computer when I have like this giggling baby in her chair like next to me. So I'm like, okay.
Right.
Which, I mean, not the best when you're trying to write something, but you know.
I think though, like doing that, like living life to the fullest, just makes our writing better anyways.
Yeah, it's all about that experience, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to think that I wouldn't be able to write more adult stories. Like nothing like maturity, but more about people that are over the age of, 18. Mm-hmm. But now that I've lived some, I've had a child, I've faced other challenges. I'm like, okay, I can write. It's just, it's different. Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. So, I don't know why I find the answer to this funny. Okay, so what's your software of choice? Do you use Word or do you use Google?
I use Word.
So you're an oldie.
I am. But I have to send everything that way too. So then I'd have to like convert it back to Word.
Well, the fun thing is I like Google Docs. You just have to hit download as a Word document and it downloads.
Okay. So, okay, I guess I could write in Word.
So yeah, I do Google just because online you can edit it anywhere. You can write anywhere. That's why I like it. I know Word has that application now,
but it's probably not as good.
It used to. Mm-hmm. So I'm Google all the way just because of that. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, Word, just Microsoft applications, has more abilities to. They just have more choices, if that makes sense. They have more
Yes.
applications you can mess with, more things to do. Like Google Sheets is nothing compared to Excel.
Right.
What?
Depending on your needs. And actually,
Yeah.
I take my answer back. I write up until this point. I always convert to Word because that's how, like we just said, that's how you have to send things to people. But I actually write in Scrivener.
Ah,
So actually, I was wrong. Wrong answer.
you lied to me. Just
I
kidding.
did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It is cool though how many different writing platforms that are coming out, and some of them
Mm-hmm.
that are meant specifically to help authors. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is really cool.
Agreed.
So, but of course, the big one, yeah, everyone wants Word. Word is where it's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ever going to change, but anyways. So, what is your writing kryptonite?
Deadlines.
Yes.
It might be because this was my first year writing under a deadline. I mean, for school I had deadlines. I imposed my own deadlines, but this was the biggest, firmest, and my publisher is really awesome. And they're if something came up, I know they would have worked with me. Nothing came up where they had to, but just having that stressed me out a little bit. But it was okay.
It's like all those college classes all over again. It's
I
like,
know, like this feels familiar.
oh my goodness. The worst was I went to vacation in Arizona, and there's a 2-hour difference. And I was sitting there, like, I was like on the line doing a midterm test. And then I realized I was actually like an hour late turning it in.
Oh, because
And
the
the
time
teacher's like,
change.
nope, you can't make that up. I'm like, gosh, dang it.
Oh, that stinks.
Still ended up passing.
Good
But
for you,
anytime I
but
think of
wow.
deadlines, I think of that time change. I'm like, oi.
That stinks.
And my mom was there standing like next to me. I'm like, Mom,
I did
guess
something
what I
bad
did.
by accident.
It was so much fun. Yay, college. I still find it so funny how your high school teachers were telling you how much worse college was going to be, and it wasn't.
It's a little scary, isn't it? It's like, wait,
Like, they're going to be so strict, it's going to be so terrible, and it's like, they weren't.
I think you feel so much more focused in college too, because you get to make more choices. Maybe
Oh, yeah. I think that also plays a part of why it seemed easier for me.
So you're
Especially
probably more
towards the
interested.
end, now just focusing on English classes. It's just because I chose to do all these things. They're my choosing. I wasn't forced to do any of it. So, moving away from that, we're going to talk about your book specifically.
Nice.
So, what came first for you, the characters or the plot?
Oh, the characters for sure.
Yeah.
Not always that way. Definitely the characters for this one.
I find that's the answer for most. Is they dreamed of a character, like they started messing with a character, and then everything else flew into it. Well, because I mean, your characters, they're why people read your books.
Right.
It's for the characters. It's not, oh, the action's cool, but why do they care about the action if you're not into the characters?
Exactly.
So, that being said, how do you develop your characters?
I read a great book that I can't remember the title of, which stinks. But basically was saying you can make character profiles all day long, and you can do all these different things to help you understand your characters, personality tests and things. And it is helpful, but the characters show themselves through action. And that was huge for me. That's how we know people, by the things that they do. And so whether through planning or actually drafting, putting them in situations where they have to make choices, that is where I really start to know them. And then actually in editing, which is really late. I'm not the only person. It made me feel better when I found somebody else does this too. But during editing is when I feel like they come, like the most alive they're going to be happens at that stage.
Yeah, I hate character profiles just because a lot of my characters, like the questions they're asking, like they would have no interaction with those things.
Exactly, because we
Even
write in
like
these
the
different
background, like
genre.
this guy doesn't even know who his parents are, so I can't answer his lineage. Well, I know them, but like based simply off of his information, he doesn't experience a lot of these things.
Right. That happens to me all the time in fantasy. I'm like, it's like
This
this.
doesn't work, but they do pose like some good questions. Like one of the questions was like, well, like what does he enjoy doing? Like, well, this character has never been in a position where he can't just sit there and enjoy something. Like,
Which
oh,
is good to know. It's like, oh.
they're good and bad. I guess I just hate answering all of the questions.
And I'm
More
learning you
making
just
the
don't
ones
have
to
to.
assist with. Well, yeah. So when I did them, I don't do them anymore. But when I did them, I was that person like, okay, finish all the questions, get them all done, like no matter what. And I was just sitting there struggling with one character. I'm like, this doesn't work for me.
I did the exact same thing. I relate hard to that. And so now I look at it and I'll fill out anything that's interesting to me and then I just let it go. Or fill it out as I draft, as I learn more about them.
Well, that's also like the thing is sometimes you just don't know it yet. It's that whole thing when people talk about, yeah, the characters lead the way. I wanted to do this, but my characters went this way. I feel like you're talking about fictional characters doing something themselves, but at the same time, like that's kind of how it feels. Is them changing up. How do you come up with your characters' names?
Not easily.
Because you have some interesting character names.
Oh, man. I don't know. I think I just say things until something makes sense. I think I normally have the sense of a letter that I want to use. And then probably depending on like friends who I'm hanging out with at the time and things like that, that probably helps shape the sound of the names too. But naming is hard for me, real hard.
It is for me too, except I come up with the names first.
It does
And then
help.
everything else comes, and I'm like, so I sit there for like 2 days waiting on a name to come to me.
No, because I have changed names later in the game. In fact, Sayo in the Eternity Gate, her name changed after the book was first written, which was kind of weird because normally once you find the name for whatever reason from our own experiences, yes, we can like see that character so much better.
Oh yeah. Names are more important than not that you realize, but just everybody. I think they're more important than, that I realized. So I really like this question because it's different for everybody. So what do you think are some essential characteristics for your heroes and your villains?
Like in this book or just in general?
Just in general, just in your view.
Yes, because that is a good question. I've never been asked that. I think that neither can be perfect. And I think there has to be the characters, the protagonists need to be flawed because that's real life. And I think the antagonists need to have some good qualities because that's real life. And it's interesting when authors it's actually interesting when the antagonist and protagonist share some of the same characteristics because then you see things from totally different views. But that's not answering your question. That's just something I enjoy. I think to be a protagonist, there needs to be like you have to care about other people and be willing to help and even like make sacrifices to help others. Where I feel like antagonists are usually so focused on themselves and whatever it takes to get what they think they need, which is tricky because sometimes they have a very compelling reason for what they're doing, but they're doing it the wrong way. And then,
It's like
yeah.
it's like the whole I that's why I really enjoy Marvel villains in the movies because you can relate to them, you can understand them.
Like
Again, it's something
Loki.
about it. Like Loki, even Thanos, even why can't I think of his name? Ultron.
Yes.
Like he took Tony's ideas and just made them extreme.
I agree. That's a good, yeah. Yeah, Marvel's really good at that.
That's their best. I think that's the best part of their movies. Is just they make these incredibly good villains that you can relate to, and it kind of makes me mad when I relate to them. I'm like,
Mhm.
I want you guys to punch this guy in the face, but at the same time, I understand what he's doing.
Right. Which is good though. Doesn't that like builds our empathy, which is good
Mhm.
because it helps you see things from different sides so you can have better discernment too in just life in general, I would think.
But then you also have villains that are just straight up evil, and I think those are fun too.
Those are fun. Like I'm thinking of or just like Joker, things like that, where it's just like, whoa, like this is
Like,
not
I'm just
even.
evil because it's fun.
Yes, that one. That's to me, that's the scariest type of villain. It's like, oh no.
Well, they're the ones, like, I feel like the ones you can relate to, you can kind of try to change their mind because they
Hmm.
kind of see reason. There's reasoning behind their issues. But then if you
Hmm.
have someone that just wants to see the world burn,
It's
yeah,
so
they're not going to think
scary.
twice about killing
So
people.
scary. Ah. But good storytelling, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't choose a favorite between those two, like just pure evil or the one you can relate to, because both of them are so much fun.
Yeah, which is why like you read one story with one kind and then you read another story and it's fun.
Oh my goodness. I am on this group chat, not the group chat, like a Facebook group.
Uh-huh.
And it's talking about, the dark romances where they're like super toxic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And them talking about, do I actually want to experience this in real life? No.
Right, right. It's
But
like
it's super fun to read about it.
yeah. Thankfully, like that that doesn't go well, but man, there's some people it's kind of scary because they read that stuff and they're like, "Oh, I can change this person or I can do whatever." And that kind of scares me. It's like,
Well,
no.
especially when it's younger people reading the stuff. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about Colleen Hoover.
I have not actually read anything by her yet.
So, a lot of her writing's fine. It's the relationship she portrays as romances. Like, if
Okay.
she would change them into thrillers, they would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, she portrays them as romances. So you have
I
these
think
like
I know,
toxic
yeah.
relationships, and it's like this is not what you should be showcasing, especially when I like see a freshman reading one of her books and talking about how much she loves her books. And like, it's teaching you the wrong things.
Right, right. But still,
So
like you said, it's fun. What a dichotomy.
it's fine to, it's like, yeah, it's just knowing it's fiction, knowing it's not what you want in real life
Right.
is the difference. And I think when you have younger people reading it, I think that's the difference. When you have younger
Exactly.
people who are like, oh, I like this, I want, like, this is what a relationship should be, versus when an adult reads it says, yeah, this isn't what it should be, but I'm gonna just enjoy the fantasy of it for a little bit.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you teach because you can teach things like this. That's so cool.
Okay,
And you're
give me
famous.
1 second. My
All good.
husband's calling me. Hi, I'm in an interview right now for a book. Bye. Okay.
All good.
Oh, all good. He's really sweet and wants to call me on his way home.
Oh, I love that so much. John would do that too. He works from home now, but he used to do that. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Even if we have like nothing to talk about, because we text all throughout the day too.
I love that. I could see that though from watching you guys interact. Y'all are really close. So that's
Mhm.
such a cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, since I'm home now, he just keeps asking me like, "How's the baby? Where's the baby now? What is she doing?
Yeah. She happy. Yeah.
Like, she's sleeping."
Hmm.
Anyways, so who is the favorite character you've created?
My favorite characters almost always tend to be the characters that were the hardest to craft. So for the
Mm.
Eternity Gate, that would definitely be Garrus. He was tough cookie for some reason. But now I think he might be my favorite, but I love them all. Do you have favorites?
I do have a favorite, and I try super hard not to show that he's my favorite.
Ah, very good, very good.
Okay, but I don't think I'm really showing that he's my favorite. I just put him through like the worst things.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back. But it's also like he's a character that would put himself in those situations. So it fits. But at the same time, like, yeah, maybe I need to focus on someone else for a little bit.
So people don't know.
So people don't know that. It's the problem with having, because I have more than one like main character. But I think that's my problem is I have a few that I like. So the first book focused on like two of the characters and then some more were added throughout. So it's like I've grown with these characters so much longer, so I know them very well.
That's
So
nice.
it's so much easier to focus on them instead of the new characters when they need just as much as a focus.
That makes sense. It's like friends and acquaintances.
Yeah. It's slightly difficult.
That makes sense.
I'm just trying to do it so people don't know that he's my favorite.
That's awesome.
Anyways, so that favorite character of yours, who would you want to play them in the movie? Have you thought about what your like fan cast would be?
I have not. I stink at this question. I cannot even imagine who would play that. He's kind of like Peter Malarkish, so maybe that guy. And I can't remember his name because I stink at this. Like totally stink at it. My husband makes fun of me or like teases me because he's like, "You can't remember that actor's name?" I'm like, "No." I need to work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, so would you want like relatively known actors or would you want some relatively unknown actors to play your characters? Maybe that's an easier question.
Yes. You know, I like the idea of someone unknown who doesn't have to deal with like all, you know, the whatever roles they typically play, if that makes sense. But if there was somebody known who was really good at it, yeah, go for it. That'd be great.
Well, yeah, it's like if you have like Daniel Radcliffe in your movie, well, he's Harry Potter, and a lot of people will not see him besides just being Harry Potter. I think that is the issue with having like famous people in certain movies that change up what they usually do. You have them being seen as certain characters.
No, that makes sense. And I know people can fight, like actors can fight through that, but that's got to be hard.
Oh yeah, it's like when you see Jim Carrey in like a drama or a serious movie, it just throws me off because I'm like, you're supposed to be funny. But
I love Jim Carrey.
He is my favorite. He's so funny. I guess I like his kind of humor. Like The Grinch is one of my favorite movies.
Yes. I love The Grinch too. Just like, wow. Just for like the 5 really funny moments. Oh gosh, I love The Grinch. Yeah.
Or I also really liked Yes Man.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
He's funny in that one. Have you seen The Truman Show?
Yes, I did.
That one's good too.
That one's so trippy. It's like, oh, it's so scary, but so funny.
So, what do you think the trickiest part of writing a character of the opposite gender is?
I think about this all the time right now because I have an idea for a book that kind of feels like it needs to be told from a guy's point of view. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea. So I'm working that out right now. I think everybody's unique, right? But like working with generalizations, I took a writing class by two guys who were like, okay, we want to teach, like, women take this class, we're going to teach you how to write from a guy's point of view. And they talked about things like men tend to, again, generalizations, everybody's different, but men tend to share the main point of something when they're recounting something. They share the main point first, and then they might fill in some details, where women tend to go again, generalizations go in a chronological order. So for me, if I do that, I would definitely want some good beta readers, like almost like sensitivity readers, just to say, hey, you know, that sounds realistic or that doesn't. Just like if I write somebody from a different culture or whatever, I want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can because I'm just me, right? Like even like if I tried to write you into a book,
even though you're writing with the best intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Have you seen? There's been so many posts about this, like men writing women,
No, that
and
sounds.
then women writing men, and just like these fantastic mess ups.
I
It's so funny.
believe it.
It's mostly men not understanding how like the female body works at all. Like not even like sexually at all, just how it just works in general.
Yes.
Like
Oh my
that doesn't
gosh.
happen. But
No, exactly. Or like the way people bounce back from hard things can be very different. And I can tell when I'm watching a movie, especially if it's a guy writing it, he's writing a woman. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't, yeah. Anyway, when I
oh
spot
yeah,
stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know about
there's
that.
this
Sounds like
TikToker who's
fantasy.
like writing who is performing like the cliches of females in men directed movies, like when they
Mm
come like just like that, like when they come back from this or when they're a scientist, that just because they're a scientist they can't have a kid and all this stuff too.
hmm. Mm
Yeah, I
hmm.
find that really funny to watch, but also kind of sad.
There's like no nuance at all. It's like they're still people. So come on.
Yeah, I think some people forget that.
Mm hmm.
Like we're like it's like yeah, different genders, but also like the basis is they're all human beings and we all share that. So
Right.
it's not completely different,
Right. But there are
but
things to take into consideration.
mhm.
Like, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of that TikTok because she did some good ones.
I'll have to find that. That sounds interesting. Be
It's
like,
so
yeah, yeah, you're right.
it's so funny to me. Okay. Or even if you just search up men writing females badly, you'll
Okay.
find so many just compilations of quotes. It's so funny.
That sounds great. I think I would laugh or just be horrified. Probably laugh.
Oh my goodness, there's this guy. He was complaining about um, how people were talking bad about his book. And when you read it, it's about a woman. It was talking about things that she was doing. And the entire thing was the female audience being like, you do know this is not how it works, right? Like this is not like he was saying just because they don't appreciate people like men writing stories. They don't appreciate men writing stories. They don't think men can write stories.
Mm,
And then you read the passages and it's like, yeah, it's because you don't know how to use Google at all.
yes. Yeah, you need to ask for help, like do some research.
Well, yeah, someone posts like, doesn't he have a wife?
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been the easiest step to take.
There was a guy, I forgot about that. I read a book. It was a really good book. And the guy wrote as part of a critique group, and he wrote a scene with a birth in it. And the women in that critique group jumped all over him. They were like, exactly like, you're married, you have children, you need to go talk to people. Like, what is this?
There's
So,
just
yeah.
so many resources that will help you get this right. Why not
Mm
use them?
hmm. Mm hmm.
As much as I want to complain about how people's nose are stuck in phones, they have all the information you'll ever need. Just look it up.
Exactly. Mm hmm.
Sorry. I'm just remembering like all like the quotes. Anyways, it's so funny. And it's just a reminder of like, yeah, do your research.
Mm
Think
hmm.
about it for a little bit. So let's look at that first book. How has your first book changed since you originally wrote it?
Oh man, different protagonist, different goal. It's changed a lot.
It was really flipped.
Oh yeah, it's flipped a lot. That from like the original idea, that book has changed a ton. More than probably any other book I've read, which was and that was way before the contract. That was just
Mm,
me trying to help it find its best shape.
nice. So when you did get your story into like where people would read it and because I'm sure you had people that read the story and critiqued it as part of your contract, has it changed a lot since then?
I was part of a critique group who oh yeah, I rewrote the first couple of chapters. They had some good thoughts. It's so hard to write a first chapter. And I did do that. And then of course that changes the trajectory later. So yeah, oh yeah, not like I don't think any huge building blocks changed, but things definitely changed.
Hmm. Um. Well, yeah, I'm just thinking back to my first draft. I'm like, yeah, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm. Discovery
So,
draft.
like, wait, this doesn't work. So, what inspired your first book?
um, there's a character that really intrigued me, and then again, like a what if, like we talked about earlier, where do story ideas come from? There
Hmm.
was like a what if thought that occurred to me, and then a scene, and that's where the protagonist came from. And then I remember like the gifting system for the like what kind of like the fantastical elements of this fantasy
Hmm.
or the magical elements. I remember when that first popped into the first draft, and I had to go back and go, oh, they can do this now, like they can hold light, or she can withstand fire, and then go back and add those things in. You know, it's just part of, no matter how much you plot, you're still discovering things as you write.
Hmm. I think that's the funnest part about writing a book.
You're like,
Like, okay.
surprise.
Um. So branching off that, so what kind of research did you have to do for the first book?
Ooh, there's a scene with a fire in it. And I have a beta reader who knows everything. And first I had to research how fires, like house fires work. And then I ran it by her. And I still do that with scenes that are a little more technical. And I want it to be realistic because it's just more interesting. And she'll check it for me. So I research a lot just because even though it's fantasy, it feels more tangible to us if it plays by some
Mhm.
of our rules. And
Oh yeah,
it's not just me
100%.
being whatever with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where the best books come in, when there's some reality mixed with even the most fantastical of stories.
Yes, because at the end of the day, we want to relate to the story and the characters,
Mhm.
and we got to have something to hang on to for that to
Oh
happen.
yeah. It's like that. Oh, someone called it something. I will eventually remember what it's called.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a thing. So the current version of it, how long did it take you to write it?
Hmm. I started drafting it. It got 30% through, and I actually scrapped it and started over. And I thought it was just
Mhm.
over. I was like, I'm never writing this. But then I remembered a scene I really wanted to write. It's like, I have to write it. So the rebirth of the book probably took me a few months. And then I spent more time editing it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I know everybody's really different. Some people takes years, some people takes weeks. It's like I don't know how they do that, but cool.
Oh my goodness. Have you seen? I'm getting so many ads about writing books, and it makes me so annoyed because there's this AI thing that's like, oh, you can write a book in like days using AI. Just get on the system. I'm like,
No, it takes all
right.
the goodness out of it. I mean,
Takes
that's
all
what I'm
the
hearing more
fun
and
out of
more.
it. Why? That's my thing, is I'm not into writing because of money or anything like that. I just wanted to
Hmm.
write a book.
That's best. That's awesome.
I don't even like, I would love if people read it, but if they never do, that's okay. But
They're
it's like,
reading it. I saw the people flocking your booth.
but I'm like, why writing? It's so hard to make a lot of money in the writing industry in general.
Hmm.
So why would that be the one you're trying to sneak into?
Exactly.
Anyways,
Hmm.
sorry, I just reminded me of that, like talking about the length of it. So how did you come up with the title?
Huh. Well, how did that happen? Because it had a different title for a long time. This one, I don't remember. How did that happen? Oh, well, there is, as you know, even just reading the back cover copy, there's a gate to be opened. In fact, I mentioned
Hmm.
it when I pitched the book earlier. So, and it kind of is like a portal between worlds, and then Eternity sounded like fun, and it just sounded like fun, and the publisher kept it, which was amazing. People usually change my titles. This one stood. I was like, yes.
Perfect. So, are you ready for the question I hate most?
I think so.
Whenever
I hope
I'm
so.
asked it. I don't know why I hate it. So, describe your book in one sentence.
Oh, okay. I think that may have been what I said earlier because I hate this too. I hate this so much. And people tell me, like, you have to be able to do this, like the elevator pitch. So, in one sentence, with 2 independent clauses, let's do kings and monsters battle over treasure locked behind the eternity gate, comma, and Seo has the key.
I like how you purpose, like, hey, let's put that conjunction in there.
It's okay. It's proper.
It works. Oh my goodness. I have so much fun teaching conjunctions.
I bet you do. I do too, actually.
I love the grammar stuff.
I do too.
So by the end of the year, my students are
fanboys.
actually using them correctly. I'm like, yes.
It's like crying. You're like, oh, thank goodness.
Like something stuck with you. Yay.
Yeah. Grammar matters. Commas matter.
So we talked about it's a duology. So do you think you're going to create any spin-offs based off the books? Or do you think
Probably not. I think I'm done. I don't think I love the world. I love the characters. There's some people who I think would like that, but I think I'm kind of ready to jump into a new world. I guess, yeah, it just sounds like fun to do something new.
It's like I'm moving away from it, so y'all have to get with it.
Yes, y'all have to just be happy with those books.
So, what is the most valuable piece of advice you've ever been given about writing?
It's actually for ballet, but I think it applies to everything. I had a teacher tell me, like, those who make it, which, like, what does that mean? You have to define what make it means. And we've actually talked about that a little bit just a few minutes ago. But those who make it are those who don't give up. Nice. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So it's not like, oh, you're uber talented, you're going to make it or whatever, which that, helps. But it's those who persevere.
Well, yeah, because you have as much talent as you want, but if you have no drive.
Yes, and people with tons of talent who just don't even try. That's not a great recipe for finishing a book.
Well, even just like that whole thing, that speaks so true for everything. So like in high school, I didn't really have to try to do well.
Yeah,
I just did well.
You're one of those.
But then when college came, I was like, oh boy, my first few semesters were not the best. I was like, okay, now I have to actually attempt.
Right. Learn how to do that.
I wasn't until college came, and I'm like, oh. Anyway.
No. I was wondering, you seem like the kind of, like, I know people like that. You seem like one of those people, and you're very humble about it. And that's cool that you could learn that in college.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The most valuable piece of advice I've ever gotten came from my brother.
Oh, cool.
Because I was giving him an old computer, and there's a bunch of my old writings on there. And like the thing that he said, he's like, I'm not going to take it yet because you shouldn't ever throw away anything you write.
Oh.
I'm like, oh.
No, that's like
I found that I've kept a lot of them. And I'm like, oh, I am reusing these scenes. I am recycling what I'm rehashing things. So yeah, that stuck with me, and it's from my brother. So what do you think is the best way to improve your writing?
I think having fun with what you're doing, and then reading a lot, reading everything, especially like probably like classics and things like that, so you can see strong characters and story structure.
Yeah. I agree with that. Especially looking outside your genre, just to see like making people read Frankenstein. Sorry, I love that book.
No, that's a good one. Best jump scene I've ever read.
Just reading different kinds of characterizations and how writing was and how it has evolved throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So what has most helped you when you're writing?
I think as I become a better storyteller, it becomes well, like I hope I'm growing. As I grow,
Mhm.
I think I have more and more fun because I understand like if a character is just not pulling their weight, I know better why. And um I think taking breaks and just enjoying like real life, like what you like we've talked about, refreshes my creative well so much and helps me be more creative with my characters and my worlds.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think are some common traps that like new authors need to look out for?
I think forever it's always like writing to a trend is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think trends are silly, like write whatever because it's really popular right now. It's like it's popular because some people who like that genre read some or wrote some really good books. But if you write what is like on your heart, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be better than you trying to write what's on somebody else's heart.
Oh
That
yeah.
would be a big one. That or like especially like for us, we've written several books. We don't need to finish every single project. Sometimes we know like okay, we need to regroup or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for beginning writers, you've got to finish a project. You need the confidence of knowing that you actually finished something, even if that's really hard to do.
Oh, 100%.
No, I'm curious for yours. What would you say?
Most common traps? Yeah, it's the writing the trends. And those promotions of people calling you and saying, "We found your book. It's so good. We would love
Oh,
to publish it.
pay
You
us.
just have to give us like $3,000."
Don't do that, man. No, I
Mhm.
mean sometimes like a hybrid press. Sometimes, in some situations can maybe be a good idea, but don't do it.
Well, it's also about knowing to look at, like, the thing I look at all the time is like the BBC or the Better Business, no, BBB, the Better Business Bureau,
Mm-hmm.
and see what their rating is and seeing what people are actually posting about it.
That's smart.
Just
Mm-hmm.
knowing to research them, because like you said, some hybrid ones actually go through and attempt to help you with the whole process. But I
Right.
had a friend who published through something like that. They did not help with like the cover, they didn't edit the book, they didn't do a lot of the things that they were like promising to do.
Oh, that stinks.
And I was like, you could have done this yourself better instead of trying to go through with something else. But
Exactly.
it's all about finding the ones that will actually assist you instead of just take your money and give you a subpar book, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'm always seeing posts like, guys, I'm so excited. These people want to publish me, but it's just a scam. And posting what they say, and then people are like, yeah, it's a scam. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I know it's hard to tell people that too, but better than not telling them.
Oh yeah, and then instead, because I also see posts about, yeah, guys, I paid these people this much money and it's not happening and all this stuff. Well, because they like to throw in, oh, we want to do a movie deal too.
Oh, I
Well,
would be like red flag.
that's when you know it's a scam. That's when you
Mm-hmm.
know. So you said that one of the best ways to get better at writing is to read. So, do you like to read like fantasy books? Is that your genre to read, or are you writing kind of outside of what you read?
I do read a lot of fantasy and I read a lot of science fiction and I read trying to read more classics because I think I grow a lot from that. So it's a balance and right now really I'm trying to read what's fun. Uh like just I guess that's it's summer. I'm in the mood for just something fun and like meaningful but light. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I guess
Have
mood.
you read Beowulf?
It's been a long time though.
Oh, I love Beowulf. I don't even know why.
I need to reread that one because that's like the oldest story,
It's
right?
like the
Like,
oldest one there is,
I need to read that one
but it's
again.
so fun to me, and I don't know why I'm so attached to it.
Well, monsters.
And
I
then
know why you're attached to it. I know why I like it too.
Have you read Grendel?
I don't know. I feel like I would have read those together, right?
Well, yeah, that's what we did in high school.
I feel like I would have too, but I wonder if I just lumped them both under Beowulf in my brain or if I didn't. I don't know. I'll have to look at it.
Or yeah, I'll just say if you haven't read, if you want to read something fun, that guy. Like it's just fun to read some of those older stories and saying, oh, they truly everything does keep growing off each other, which is so fun. Even though people, it's like the students ask the questions like, why do we still read? Like, why do people still read Shakespeare? Why is this still relevant? It's like, if you look at his stories, you can see components still being played apart.
Mm-hmm.
They're all of like pop, even just pop culture.
Yes, no kidding.
Which is super fun. And it's like you guys are not going to understand these references in movies, in anywhere, if you guys do not have at least somewhat of what this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
But so, what books inspired you to write?
Tolkien. Man. There's a book called Mara, Daughter of the Nile. It's historical fiction. And I really, really loved that one so much. There's a C.S. Lewis book called The Horse and His Boy that I really like. Those are probably the biggies for me. What about you? Besides Beowulf, of course.
Oh, so the book that most inspired me to write is have you read, I don't even like, so when I was younger, I grew up with these characters. So every book that came out, I was the student, I was the character's age as they grew up. So the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series,
those are
really impacted me.
Oh, I love Greek mythology. Like today, I love it so much. I love that Percy Jackson explores that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that series. Like even the next series that comes when he was like 16.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was 16 when they're coming out, so it was like, oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. That author, those books have really. I'm older now, and they're like middle grade stories. But if someone asks me what my favorite book is, Percy Jackson. It's just always going to be there.
That's awesome. Very good.
It's never going to change. As much as I grow up, it's never going to change. Did you grow up reading, or is this?
Yeah. I did. I know people who didn't, who become writers. I think that's so inspiring. But I did. In fact, our family would read out loud sometimes, so that's nice. But if like it helps if your family likes to read too.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was the biggest reader in my famey. But my brother was the one who gave me his really beat up version of the Percy Jackson that was missing the cover. So it was just the paper. I'm like, okay. It's like, yeah, that's the only book I liked. I'm like, perfect.
That's kind of cool, though. He must have liked it too, I guess, or somebody did for the cover
I
to fall
kept the
off.
book for a long time, and then I bought my own copy and gave that copy to my sister to read.
Nice.
Which now I wish I kept that beat up comic. I'm like, that I had that when I was a child.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, at least you'd know where it is, I guess.
Yeah. So, what do you think is an underappreciated novel?
Oh, man. It depends because there's so many circles of people who like this and don't like that. I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I don't know. What do you think?
So if you're looking for I don't know if it's more like supernatural, but if you're wanting like short stories, there's this series called Night World.
Okay.
Where, I mean, they're big books, but there's like 3 separate stories in each book. So you just get these nice little stories within this big book.
Oh, cool.
That they all sort of go together, and you really see them go together at the end. So I think more people should enjoy that one. Anyone that posts about them, I'm like, yes. But the author has not. There's supposed to be a 4th book that kind of brings everything together, and it was published in like 1999, and that last book has not come out.
Okay. You jogged my memory. There's a book called Heartless. It's fantasy by Anne Elizabeth Stengel. And
I know that book.
It's like so fun. Like I feel like that show just taken off everywhere. And the books after it are really fun. and it's like super sad. The series itself, I don't think actually completes, which is like the worst. It's like such a travesty. But like seriously, if anybody's looking for good fantasy, the first 4 or 5 books, I think, something like that, they're so good.
Oh yeah, because she wrote the Lunar Chronicles, and I love those books.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
Have you read the Lunar Chronicles?
No, but I need to. I really am like,
It's
man, I read so many
Cinderella
old books.
as a cyborg.
I know. I'm like,
It's like all the princesses just super
turned.
sorry. I love that series. It's wonderful.
Like people tell me all the time you have to read that. I'm like, I know. I read so many old books. I have to read more new books.
Have you there's this series, the first book is called Graceling. Have you heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you read it?
Nope.
It's really good, and I am really bad at spoiling books because I don't mind if books are spoiled. It makes me want to read them more.
Mm-hmm.
But her life is kind of sad because of what her power is.
Ooh, I already like that.
And then she kind of like accepts it. Like later on, you get to learn something new about it. It's super cool. I would read it.
Graceling. Okay.
And then we should definitely talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Book club.
See, that's my problem is I'm not going to say I don't have friends. I don't have friends that like to read as much as I do. So I'm like, I just want to talk about this book.
And then no one's people.
Like, I didn't read it. I'm like, great.
If I read it, I will definitely let you know because it's
definitely
it's not, I like it.
So you said you're reading like older books right now. What book are you reading right now, though?
I'm reading the Aeneid.
Oi.
I know. I'm excited. I've got my sticky notes. I'm just starting it though, but I've got my sticky notes and I have my highlighter and I'm like, I'm ready to go.
I had this 7th grade student that was reading like Moby Dick.
Oh, wow.
And like A War and Peace.
That's an old soul.
I'm like,
it happens.
He was so smart. And he still is. I'm like, oh my goodness. I can't even, like, why are you in my class? Like, you should be in the honors class. Like, wow.
That's cool. Nice.
I like just like when I see stuff like that, I'm like, that kid's gonna stick in my mind forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's such a bizarre book to just have. Moby Dick.
Moby Dick, yeah, no kidding. Man, that's intense. I actually met another kid recently, not in my class, who I heard was doing that too. So it's like I know like there are people who they're really drawn to that at a young age. It's like okay, or it's maybe I don't know, encouraged to read that or something.
Mm. But it also brings up the question of like the maturity. Like, do they actually understand all the themes that are going through it? But I mean, I also like. I feel like if a kid picks up that kind of book, they're going to be more mature anyways. Because most kids I see if the book is like even just this thick, they're like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Like okay. So we're looking into arguments again because I think it's funny. I think it's funny to watch people argue on Facebook because, one, I don't understand the point of getting mad about things.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find it funny when people argue back and forth. So I like watching the drama. I don't like being part of the drama.
Yeah, I hear you.
So there's this whole debate about audiobooks and if they're considered reading. Do you consider them reading?
I totally think they are. I think they count because I think we're like people are kinesthetic, they're visual, they're auditory. And so I think it's kind of weird to say, no, only if you're seeing it with your eyes. Like for like people who can't see, are they not reading? Of course they are. So I think it counts. In fact, as somebody who's very visual, I'm not as auditory. And so I listen to audiobooks all the time because I know that's a skill that I need to practice. So it could be the opposite for somebody else. But you're a teacher as well. I want to know what your thoughts.
That's my big thing is because it's different skills. Right? Reading on a page is different than trying to listen. So I think if you look at the technical type of, like just looking at technically, I mean, sure, it's not actually reading, but yeah, they read the book.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
It does, because it is different. But I'm like, what's the point anyways? It's to take in knowledge. Are you doing that? Okay, great.
That's a big thing about comprehension. And like in school, like if kids are struggling to read and write, a big thing, especially at the beginning of the year, I'm like, well, if you can just show me that you comprehended the story and we can have a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to stress too much about the writing aspect of it right now. Just let me know, did you understand these concepts? Can you make something with it, even just discussing it? Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I think its rating is just technically, I guess you can argue, but it's all about that comprehending. I could not do audiobooks. It goes in one ear out the other.
I'm getting better, but yeah, I'm with you. Especially like nonfiction is really hard. Fiction's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I feel that. I struggle with nonfiction. Just because that's not my vibe. So if you could, I really like this question, but I've been getting like the same answers.
Okay.
If you could live in any fictional world, what world would it be?
Oh man, most of them are kind of hard and scary. Like none of it.
Well, yeah, they asked me the same question. I'm like, life is so much easier now. Like my husband asked me, like, "Oh, would you want to be in this world or would you rather be in this one?" I'm like, people die in both of those. Cities get destroyed.
Yes,
so
I want to read
would
about it.
I
I don't want to be
in the
there.
Marvel universe when there's all these monsters happening.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, which one? If you had to choose.
Man, like I don't know. I guess right now. Maybe it'd be fun to, this is gonna sound so silly. This is a movie, but like go into the world of Aladdin and fly on the flying carpet. That does seem kind of neat, even though it's kind of like being on a plane. I don't know why. It just popped in my brain. I'm like, that does kind of sound like fun. But a lot of it's very scary.
People say Harry Potter.
Oh, that kind of makes sense.
I've been doing a lot.
I could see that though with that magic system. I could see that, yeah. In the school, like Hogwarts sound like so much fun.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'd answer that question because all the ones that like I read that I think are fun, I would just die.
Yeah, I would be like, we're not prepared.
But it's also like considering like, would you actually be like, if you were in that universe, would you actually be guaranteed to be a wizard, or would you just be
a muggle?
Or the person that don't know it exists?
Right. It's like, how do I enter that world?
I tend to ask too many questions, and I think I annoy my husband with it because he's like, "Well, what superpower would you have?" I'm like, I would love to fly, but would you be able to survive the change in pressure and do all these things?
See, that's because you're a writer.
Like, there's stipulations that have to be a part of this. Like, alrighty. I just love asking that question because I don't know. I've just been getting Harry Potter a lot.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't say Harry Potter, but that does sound like fun.
Aladdin is a new one. I don't know if I would choose any in the past because I feel like I enjoy modern day commodities too much.
That's true. Air conditioning.
Like plumbing.
Yeah.
Warm showers.
Okay, you're swaying me.
Like whenever people say like I was born in the wrong era, I'm like the era of like the most advanced technology where you can just turn the faucet and you have a shower that's hot instead of having to boil water. And it's like, oh yeah, being in like the Lord of the Rings universe would be cool, but like I can't take a shower. Because that would have been my first thought.
Like, no, I thought about that one too, but orcs. Like, oh, I don't want that.
Well, yeah, but if you do it after the war.
True.
But at the same time, modern day commodities.
Plumbing.
Is what gets me.
Agreed.
So, that was all my questions.
Those are good. Man.
We have been on for quite some time.
Those were good questions. Like some of them I was like, to think about that.
Heck no. I wanted to be slightly different.
You succeeded.
So the last question that I'm going to ask before we get ready to be done is, what is your spirit animal?
Ooh, a wolf. Since I was a child, and I don't know why, but I think they're cool. I was obsessed with them when I was little, and I still really like them. What about you?
To be honest, I would like to choose a cool animal, but I'd just probably be a dog.
Okay, that is true. I would not be a wolf. I just really like them. I don't know what I would be. I
Like,
don't know.
I'd be lazy until I have to be active, and then
Yeah, and you're friendly though. Like dogs are friendly. Better than being a cat, unless you're a cat person. Then
I'm not.
okay, I'm not either.
Cats are like super cute, but like dogs all the way. Like, I would not
Yeah.
be a cat. I'd definitely be a dog. Because like when I was younger, I would like to think I was a tiger. Like that's what I was obsessed with. I would be like, my spirit animal is a tiger, but I am not that fierce.
Right.
So,
Because I'm not as stealthy as a wolf. I just love them. I'd
I
probably
would
be
be
like, I don't even know. I'll ask John and he'll probably come up with something so funny and I'll be like so sad, but I'll be like, no, that's fair.
I would be a
like,
very domesticated dog.
like, you're a guinea pig. I'm like, what? No.
Like I want to be offended, but it's true.
Yeah. Hey, that's humble. That's good. That's where we grow from, right?
I should ask my husband, like, what animal do you think I'd be? He'd probably say something funny and slightly insulting too.
That's what I'm gonna do. Once we get off, I'm gonna go find him and be like, all right. And he'll be like, what are you doing?
I want an accurate spirit animal.
I want you to really think about it. Get back with me.
Well, alrighty. Well, it was great to have you on.
That was so much fun. I love this. And just seeing you again, I'm like, yeah, it's a party.
It just definitely was a party. It was definitely fun. I hope we cross paths again in person.
We have to. Another author fair.
Oh, yeah. If you ever want to do this again, especially when the second book comes out, I would love that. I think that'd be fun.
I would love that. That would be awesome. Sign me up.
Is there anything else you would like to add before I hit the end recording button?
That everybody should follow you on the gram. And if they feel like following me, I'm at Katherine Briggs _author. And I do have an email newsletter. I love connecting with people through that. They can find that in my bio, and that they should. And if you're looking for something like spooky fantasy, you should read Jocelyn's books. If you're looking for like adventure fantasy, check out The Eternity Gate. And I'm like, this was just so much fun, Jocelyn. Thank you. You're so fun to hang out with.
Oh, thank you. Same to you. Again, like I expect to be nervous during these things. But like, especially like with you, it's just been so easy. So thank you for making.
That's how I felt too, because I get nervous too. But I guess because we've met and like I think you're really chill. It was just like, oh, it's just fun. I feel relaxed. Like, yeah.
We're good.